So we're going to start it off in the prelims in the bantamweight division with Mario Bautista, who comes into the fight with a record of 10 victories and 2 defeats, coming off of that first round guillotine or rear naked choke submission victory over Brian Kelleher, going up against Benito Golden Boy Lopez, who comes back with a record of 10 victories and 1 defeat. Now, looking at this matchup, you don't really have to go into the stats. I feel like the biggest and most glaring thing you have to look at when it comes to breaking down information for the fight is the fact that Benito Lopez has not competed in professional mixed martial arts or competed in the UFC. Let me see, since my computer wanted to freeze on me for a second. Hold on. He has not competed since July 13th, 2019. So we're looking at over a 3-year layoff for Benito Lopez, and it was a unanimous decision victory over Vince Morales. That's a good win. He looked good in the fight. The one thing I like about Benito Lopez is he seems to be very good at mixing up his strikes. He's very good with his jab, the 1-2 right down the center. He's really good at framing off and controlling with the lead hand to, keep the distance, and he's really good with that lead leg, whether it's the lead kick to the body, the lead question mark kick, the lead round kick to the head. I mean, he's very good at timing everything off that lead side, whether it's the frame into the body kick, the frame into the high kick. And he's very good at throwing the right hand and then following up with a right low kick behind it. He has power in all of his kicks, and he's very good with his striking. He seems to move pretty effectively, and he likes to move around a lot. He uses a lot of lateral movement, a lot of angles, a lot of angle changes, and he looked very good in the fight against Morales throughout the entirety of the matchup, aside from when he got dropped with that overhand right. The only thing is I have some chin concerns, and the biggest concern for me is going to be that layoff. When you're coming into professional mixed martial arts, when you're at the highest level of professional MMA, that can be kind of an issue. The more of a layoff you have, the tougher it is to come back. And there are outliers like a Dominic Cruz. I mean, I think Jake Matthews, no, he didn't have that long of a layoff before he came back and fought Andre Fialho. People just didn't expect him to win, but a lot of the times if you have a layoff that's over a year, there's a lot of problems. And it's not just that. Lopez seems to have gotten his real estate license. He hasn't posted a whole lot on his social media about being in the gym and training. I think he's with Team Alpha Male. That's been his gym for a lot of his career. I think the entirety of his career, at least inside the UFC. But he hasn't posted too much. He looked like he hadn't been training for, when he was getting his real estate license and working on other things in his life. So is he coming back for the paycheck, or is he coming back for the right reasons? We don't really know. But a lot of the time when guys have these huge layoffs, going into these fights, you kind of have to side with the other side. Now you look at Mario Bautista, and he has a similar record at 10 victories and 2 defeats overall. His 2 losses come by way of TKO over Trevin Jones, and then 1 loss via submission. But if you look at his recent records, he has a decision victory over Jay Perrin in February 2022. He has a rear naked choke submission in the first round that we talked about over Brian Boom Boom Kelleher on June 25th, 2022. So this will be his 3rd fight in 2022, and this will be Benito Lopez's first fight in 3 years. He lost to Trevin Jones via TKO, but even though Jones is very low on the volume and can get picked apart kind of like he did against Raoni Barcelos, he still is, live for a KO, because if he does connect on your chin, he can hurt anybody. If he would have connected on the chin of Raoni Barcelos, I think he could have hurt him and potentially knocked him out as well. Prior to that, he had a flying knee TKO over Miles Johns at UFC 247. So he fought once in 2020, once in 2021, but then came back, and this will be his 3rd fight in 2022. So one of the most active years for Mario Bautista as well. And that just gives me a lot of concern for Benito Lopez in this fight. I think that this is a competitive matchup. I think if Lopez was more active, that this could be one of the best fights on the card. But the low activity, the fact that he has other things now in his life, that he's, taking himself away from the fight game, and he's coming back probably for the paycheck, but we don't know 100%. I don't want to 100% say that that's the reason he's coming back to fight. But I think if this was no layoff, both guys were active, this would be a very competitive fight, and it probably would be lined at a pick'em. But I think they have Mario Bautista sitting at a minus 230 favorite. Let me see. Let's see. Go to best fight odds for the most accurate breakdown. And They have the fight lined at a minus 300 favorite, actually, for Mario Bautista. When I looked at it originally, he was sitting at like minus 220, minus 230. So they've actually bet Mario Bautista all the way up to a minus 300. I can definitely see why. If you want to take a shot on the underdog at Benito Lopez at plus 250, I think it's possible. But you look at Mario Lopez, I was going to say Mario Lopez. It's kind of what this fight is, right? If you combine both opponents. But when you look at Mario Bautista, he's very, very elusive with his movement. He's constantly changing angles in and out, left and right, constantly using lateral movement, feinting in and out. He likes to use that overhand right, switch stance into southpaw, land the overhand left. He's very good at landing kicks to the body. He just mixes up his combinations so well, and he's got a lot of power. And the fact that Benito Lopez gets caught with some shots, sometimes you saw him get caught with that overhand right in his last fight in the UFC against a guy who wasn't really throwing much at all throughout the entirety of the fight. But since he uses that long lead arm frame and circles against an orthodox fighter, if you use that long lead arm or lead frame, you're kind of leaning over into their right hand, and they can cut that angle and then come over the top with the powered backhand if they're an orthodox. And I think that that's definitely something that Bautista is going to look for. He's very good at the flying knees. Every time he has the opponent backing up to the cage, with him controlling the center, he likes to use that flying knee to close the distance. And when he landed it on Miles Johns, he had thrown it like 2, 3, maybe 4 times in the fight before he actually landed it clean and got the TKO. The guy's got power on the feet. He's got finishing ability. He's got the grappling upside. I think that Benito Lopez is a good grappler, but I don't think he's on the level of a Mario Bautista. I mean, Brian Kelleher has been submitted before, but he's a solid offensive jiu-jitsu artist. He's very good at the scrambles. We've seen him, scramble with some of the best guys in the sport. And I think that the fact that Mario Bautista was able to kind of slice through his grappling game like butter, get to the opposite side when he tried to attack with the guillotine, and then immediately get to mount. He opened up his hips with kind of that reverse scarf position, stepped over into the mount. Brian Kelleher gave up his back. He sunk in the rear naked choke, got the submission really quick. I think the grappling upside is definitely on the side of Mario Bautista. I think the striking upside and the variety on the feet is on the side of Bautista. I think he's better defensively. I like Bautista in every aspect of this fight, and I expect him to get a finish in this fight. Maybe the best bet for looking at this from a betting perspective would be to bet fight doesn't go the distance, depending on what the lines are. I think that 3-year layoff is really going to play a big factor here. I think Benito might look good early, but once he starts getting cracked by Mario Bautista, I think this kid's a problem. I think this kid's definitely the future of this division, and I think he's going to finish Benito Lopez. I think he's going to catch him with that right hand on the feet, drop him, stun him, jump on him, and get a submission victory. So my pick is going to be Mario Bautista to defeat Benito Golden Boy Lopez via a second round. Should we go rear naked choke again? Yeah, I'm going to go rear naked choke. A second round rear naked choke submission in this fight. So Mario Bautista to defeat Benito Golden Boy Lopez via a second round rear naked choke submission. I think, like I said, betting perspective, probably better to look at either Bautista by submission or fight doesn't go the distance, because I don't like that minus 300 number, but I see why they have Bautista lined as such a big favorite.